Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going over the HDZero budget build for 2022. As always, I'm Jeff with Titan FPV. Don't forget to hit that subscription button if you're not already subscribed. Click that notification bell. Go ahead and smash that like button. I'll get more content out to you. Did you just go out and drop $599 to get the first batch of the HDZero goggles and you don't have another $400 laying around for a bind and fly? This is the video for you. Remember, for the most part, you shouldn't have to pay full price for FPV parts. First off, we got to start off with the frame. That's going to be the base for our build. I want to start with, you should always support your frame designers. A lot of work goes into designing these frames, and whenever possible, it's always a good idea to purchase the frame from the original designer or manufacturer. Now for the budget build, I went with this GepRC Mark IV HD frame. It's from Ready to Sky. Now you can find this frame on Amazon, but I picked this one up on AliExpress. I wasn't in a hurry to receive this frame, so I found it listed for $22 US. So at $22 US, it was hard to pass up. Now let's go over some features of this frame. Now we are running the HDZero Freestyle VTX, so we needed plenty of room for that 30x30 mounting in the rear. And this frame fits the build as far as that goes. As you can see, it does have 20x20 and 30x30 mounting in the rear. There's plenty of room. You will notice it has this gold hardware, so that's either a plus or a minus, just depending on how you take that. The frame is chamfered from the factory, and the carbon looks to be of decent quality. Now I haven't flown this over concrete or in a bando, so I can't really speak to the durability. And these are the thinner arms. This is a lighter weight 5-inch frame. So if you want something a little bit sturdier, you may want to go something like the Source 1 V3. That's also going to be a good budget 5-inch frame. And that's directly from TBS, or you can get, it's an open source frame, so you could get something from Race Day Quads or Pyrodrone. They also cut these frames. But this one easily will not fit the 30x30 Freestyle VTX. I've seen people mount it in the middle, mount the flight controller in the rear. I'm not saying you can't fit it, but it's a little bit more difficult. So back to the Mark IV frame. Now you see all the TPU. I'll post a link in the video description of that. I printed all these parts. It does not come with the TPU. Let's see what else you get. Comes in this very plain box, Ready to Sky. It does come with these landing feet. So if you don't have access to a 3D printer and you want to protect your motor screws, you can use these landing feet. I don't know how long those hold up. I think a lot of people wrap these in electrical tape, and that adds to the longevity of them. You got all the normal hardware. Now this is the front bumper. I removed that because I added a 3D print for the Express LRS antenna mount. But that does come with that. You're going to get some extra standoffs, as well as just basic hardware for the frame. It does have press nuts that you do have to install. There's a pretty simple procedure as far as that goes. It wasn't a difficult frame to assemble. I believe it does come with an assembly guide, and that makes the build a little bit easier. For motors, I've always wanted to try Bob Ruge Kebab FPV's 25mm motors, and I picked up some of these Emeralds for just $8.99 US on sale. You're only looking at under $36 for a set of motors. These are 25mm. I think they're 2506. These have no issue spinning a 5.1-inch prop. That's the frame will take up to 5.1 inch props. Now these are the HQ J37s. These are a 4.9 inch prop, but like I said, 5.1s fit. It has no problem spinning these. There's only one caveat with these motors. If you do decide to go with some, if you're able to pick up a set, I believe these are currently out of stock. I picked up a couple sets, couldn't resist the deal. This batch has a tendency to desync if you don't have the correct ESC settings. Basically what that means is they just lose sync with the ESC, and it'll cause them to lock up or stop spinning, and then you'll lose control and more than likely crash. I did experience this with the stock ESC settings. Now I'm using the SpeedyBee F405 V3 stack. It comes with a BL-LES, I believe it's a 50 amp ESC. I think it's running BL-LES 16.7 firmware, which is not capable of RPM filtering. But out of the box, I did get desyncs. So I scoured the Facebook group, and Mark Spatz, UAV Tech, made some interesting notes, gave some settings. I'll post those up here on the screen. He recommends flashing 48 kilohertz. So, I went with Blue Jay because I do want to enable RPM filtering. And then you switch DMAG to high, and then you lower the motor timing. As soon as I flash those settings, I no longer got desyncs. Basically, the desync occurs when you're doing like a hard flip or roll or a sudden direction change. But I haven't got any desyncs since then, and I've put well over 20 packs through this. So no issues there. These motors are awesome for $9 a motor. Now for the video system, I already told you I was going to go with HDZero. There's really one main option if you're going to go for a 5-inch build that I recommend. You can fly one of the 200 milliwatt VTXs like the Race 2 or the Whoop board, but I went with the Freestyle VTX because I want that 1 watt of power. This one is raised up on these standoffs. It's a 3D print. Definitely recommend doing this. It's going to allow airflow under there, and you're going to have space to run your wires underneath. We all can agree that we don't like the plug on the side of the Freestyle VTX. It is prone to get knocked off. Fortunately, I have not done so myself. But yeah, Freestyle VTX. These retail for $99 US, and that's without a Mipi cable. I picked this one up on Catalyst Machine Works. I'll post a link in the video description. These are only $89, so I saved an additional $10 off the Freestyle VTX. Now, for the camera, the best choice currently for HDZero is the RunCam or the HDZero Micro V2. It's a 4x3 switchable to 16x9 camera. But we're going on a budget here, and we need to save as many pennies as we can. I went with the Foxeer Digisight V3. Now, the first batch of these had an issue with the color grading. I'll post that link up here at the top. But that was only the first batch. All the subsequent batches have not had that issue. Now, this is only 16x9, and you cannot switch the camera settings on this specific camera. But out of the box, it's got good color and a great image. So for $35, it's hard to pass up. Defiance RC has these on sale. I'll post that link in the video description. If these are out of stock or you want to go with the HDZero RunCam Micro V2, Catalyst Machine Works has those on sale for, I believe, $41 US. So about $6 more. Now, this is not the Starlight version. This is the regular Digisight. Starlight version has a much larger lens. It's supposed to be letting more light in for low light. A much wider field of view. But the image has got a lot more fisheye. I found the original is fine for me. Plus, it's $3 cheaper. cheapest what we're going for today. For the Mipi cable, I wanted to match the white theme. Not really. But I found that these Foxeer 150 millimeter cables work great in any large frame. Now you can get a 120 millimeter cable from HDZero, but the 150 gives you that extra leeway if you need to accommodate most frames.
These are $9.99 US a piece.
For the control link, I went with Express ELRS. Jumper has their Aion Mini RXs. They're only $11.99 US. This one, the cover has come off the antenna. That's generally not an issue. I'll put some shrink wrap over that, shrink tubing over that, and resolve that, but it flies great as is. But I'll post those links for all the TPU parts in the description below. You can check those out. But I flashed this one. I'm currently on 2.5.1. I haven't switched to Express ELRS 3.0 yet. So that's a no-brainer for the control link. It's going to get you out as far as you need to go. If you've been following the channel closely, recently I post the SpeedyBee F405 V3 stack. I'll post that review up here. So that's the stack that I want to go with this build. It's readily available now. Most retailers have restocked. It's coming at $69.99 US. It's a F405, has built-in Bluetooth that you can control with the SpeedyBee app. I'll touch on that here in a minute. And it comes with a BLHeliS 50 amp ESC. It does come with a low ESR capacitor. I mean, it's a honking capacitor. Huge capacitor. I just didn't really have room in this frame. I tried running it directly off the leads, but I don't know if you can see in here, just wasn't enough room. So I always want to mount it as close to the leads as you can. You're going to get the least resistance that way. But I just went ahead and ran 2 wires out. This is another capacitor that I had laying around. I think it's a 35 amp, 470 microfarad capacitor. It's getting the job done. I'll post a link for this TPU mount here. Haven't had any clearance issues here with hitting the props, and it's out of harm's way, and you got more room for airflow here in the frame. Props, I went with 2 options. I went with these J37 GC props from HQ. These are a 4.9 inch prop. This is a lighter 5-inch build. These do well on lighter builds. Not that I have an issue with these FPV Emerald motors. And the other props I used were the Ethix P3 Rotor Ride Edition, Rampage Edition, the purple and black. Picked those up for $1.50 a set, but generally you can expect to pay around $2.99, I believe, for those props. I designed some of the prints, found most of them online. The roll of TPU I used was $12.50. Check out the sales. Now is a good time. Amazon has their pre-Black Friday sales. You shouldn't ever have to pay a whole lot for filament, and once your printer's dialed in, TPU should be decently easy to print, especially if you have a direct drive extruder. I estimated that I spent about $2 or less for prints since I only used less than a roll. It does have the XT60 cable running through the frame. That's a nice touch. They come with this battery mat. It's not a super sticky one like Grip, but it gets the job done. Let's just check the arm thickness. Let's just check the arm thickness. I believe they are. That's funny. What do you expect from a budget receiver? Let's check the arm thickness. I think they're probably 5 millimeters. Yeah, they're 5 millimeters thick. Not very wide. Probably would be a weak point potentially. If anyone has a GepRC Mark IV, they can attest to the arm strength. Yeah, about 11 millimeters wide on the arms. All right, let's get a weight. Dry weight's coming in at 404 grams with this Gold Line 6S 1050. 602 grams, or roughly 603 grams. Run Camp Orange. If you're running a session, you can expect, I believe, about 20 grams heavier. 658 grams. So not too bad all up weight. If you're going with this 6S 1350, a little bit more flight time, you're looking at about 700 grams. I should have printed them out for my Hero 9, but I didn't get a chance to. I didn't see any online, so I'd have to throw something together. If I do get a chance, I will add that link to the video description. Didn't have any issues there out of the SpeedyBee flight stack, but I did want to point something out. So I think a lot of people may pick this stack up because it's easy to make changes in the field, and potentially maybe not everyone has a computer. I'm not in that. A lot of people may not have a computer. They may only have an iPad or an Android tablet. It would be beneficial if you could flash everything from the SpeedyBee app. Now, SpeedyBee recently pushed an app update out on iOS and iPadOS, so I haven't given that a chance yet, but I did try to set the quad up entirely through the SpeedyBee app, and I can say that I was not successful. You are able to make changes like OSD elements, update your rates, things of that nature, no issue. But when it came to flashing ESC firmware, or even flashing my Express ELRS receiver, which there is an option now in the SpeedyBee app, I did run into some hiccups. Now, I was doing this on an iPad, and I have previously used an iPhone as well with the app. Had pretty good results out of the app for the most part. You may get different results. Your mileage may vary, but I did want to bring that up because a lot of people may purchase this stack under the assumption that you're going to be able to do everything with your phone or your tablet. And I did find that that was not the case.
Now for the moment of truth, the build total. We're starting with the GepRC Clone frame. It's coming in at $22.72. The SpeedyBee F405 stack's coming in at $69.99. 4 of the FPV Cycle Emerald motors coming in at $8.99 a piece for a total of $35.96. The Foxeer Digisight was $34.99 at Defiance RC. Now it's only $29.99. Get it while it's hot, guys. The Mipi cable's coming in at $9.99. The HDZero Freestyle VTX is coming in at $89.99. The Jumper Express LRS receiver is coming in at $11.99. The Ethix P3 Props I picked up for $1.50. The battery strap was free. About $2 worth of TPU. It's coming in at $274.13. Now guys, if you want to run this analog, you can easily save another $100, coming in at about $175. You can pick up an analog camera, VTX, and antenna for about $40 easily. If you want to build this up DJI, you're going to spend about the same amount that you would with HDZero. Pretty much the same with Walks now.
Another quick tip, guys, if you need to pick up some cheap lipos, I recommend going with China Hobby Line. They make good packs. Now, they're not the lightest packs, but they are generally reliable, and they're not going to break your bank there. So you can pick these up. These are 6S 1000s, and these are 6S 1300s. Like this is a 4S 1500. I believe I picked these up for about $16 a piece. Sometimes you can pick them up even cheaper.
Here's the Betaflight settings. I just used the UAV Tech 5-inch preset on Betaflight 4.3.1, and then I lowered the master multiplier from 1.4 to 1.3. I put in my own rates, and then these are the ESC settings that I mentioned earlier. Make sure to use those if you're using the FPV Cycle motors and you don't want desyncs. You can pause the video if you need to.
Let's get to the good stuff. I'll go ahead and post the flight footage there. You guys can see how well the Digisight V3 handles everything. I think it's looking good. It's a crisp image. Post in the comments down below. Do you have a budget build that you've got?
I'd like to hear your thoughts and ideas.
Now let me go over the other items that you will be able to substitute easily for these components if they aren't in stock. Now the frame, you shouldn't have an issue with the frame. I've been seeing this one. They also have it on Amazon. It's marketed as Ready to Sky Mark IV, I believe, HD. Like I said, this does have the mounting for a 30x30 or 20x20 VTX in the back. So either of the HDZero VTXs would fit. I mean, you could run an adapter if you want to run the Whoop board. Save even more money. That'll knock about another $40 off the price. Main components, you're looking at the flight stack. So this is about $70 US. If you can find a Mamba F405 Mark II or the equivalent, I think they're calling those stacks something different now, like the basic stack, you may be able to pick one of those up for mid 70 to 80-ish dollars. So that's roughly the same price as the SpeedyBee stack. I believe JHEMCU has a 20x20 stack. You're gonna lose some of the benefits there of this flight stack. Definitely will fit a 20x20 in this frame. I believe they're coming in roughly $60 US, about $30 for the flight controller and $30 for the ESC. I don't know if that's going to be as robust as a 30x30. Like I said, for the camera, you can substitute pretty much any HDZero camera. I would recommend going with one of the newer cameras. Pyrodrome does also have the Nano V1 camera. You would have to run an adapter. I don't believe it comes with an adapter, so you could 3D print one to fit this micro-sized 19mm mount. They're coming in, I believe, at $36.99, so almost the same price. Props, you can pretty much substitute any 4.9 to 5.1 inch props that you'd like. Like I said, I also use the Ethix Peanut Butter and Jelly Rotor Riot Edition. For motors, motors is going to be something different now. The prices have fluctuated. The best budget motors that I always go to typically are going to be Emax. Now they do have a Pulsar motor. It's a 2207, I think 1700, maybe 1750 kV. Has some built-in LEDs on the base of the motor. Emax does make solid motors. You can pick those up on sale all the time for $9.99. Now periodically they'll have sales. Black Friday's coming up, so stay tuned. Keep a lookout in my community tab, and I'll post links to deals, as well as the FPV Sales Alert group. Johnny 5 runs that one. Check that out. I'll also post the link to that in the video description. But the Emax Pulsar motors, I believe they come in at $9.99 all the time, and also the Emax Freestyle motors. Now, potentially you could save even more money if you wanted to run 4S. There's nothing wrong with 4S, guys. I've just switched over to 6S, and that's what most of my good packs are. So for me, I'm going to run 6S. That's just how it is. You can run these motors on 4S. They don't have desync issues on 4S. I will tell you, it is underpowered on 4S. So I recommend getting the correct motor for the correct LiPo. And this stack is, I believe, 3 to 6S. So the other option, Emax does have their freestyle motors. I believe they're coming 2306, 2208, but the 2208 are only 4S kV. Those go on sale for, I believe, $9.99 and thereabouts all the time. If you can't catch some on sale, you can get the Emax Eco 2s. Those are a good looking motor, but I believe they've gone up through supply chain pricing to, I believe, $12.99 or $13.99. So they're not the deal that they used to be. But still a good deal nonetheless. That's going to cost you a few more dollars. Most of your local US retailers, and I would say retailers across the world, are going to give you free battery straps. You're going to need some minor building accessories. So you're going to need a soldering iron, obviously. I mean, I haven't accounted for this in the build. Anytime you're going to build that, I need to do like a new to FPV series maybe. If you're interested, post in the comments down below kind of on what gear you need to get. I've also got a video on how to get good at soldering. Kester solder is what I recommend. This is leaded solder. You can buy it by the pound, I think. Good stuff. You need solder. You're going to need a soldering iron. Zip ties is something you can never run out of when you're building FPV. Get some zip ties. You can get them on Amazon. Harbor Freight's got them. Shrink tubing. You're going to need shrink tubing. I think this is a TBS kit. It's got all kinds of shrink tubing. Now, these are things that I haven't accounted for. I'm just assuming that you have them already. So if you need things like this, you know, you may have to add a couple dollars to your build. Standoffs. You can always get these Amazon or electronic supply stores. I believe these are all M3 standoffs using M3 hardware, but some builds are going to take M2. The Emax tape, you see me use that on other builds. That's what I generally secure my motor wires down with, but I figured most everybody would have zip ties on hand. Not saying everybody's going to have a 3D printer, but if you are in this hobby, it is something you may want to consider investing in. If you got a Micro Center nearby, I think they're offering the Ender 3s for like $99. That's a great starter printer. If you want more 3D printer content, comment down below and I can do that as well, guys. So we're going to leave it at that. Didn't run into any other issues there. You guys can enjoy the flight footage. I'll post the build down here at the bottom. And yeah, stay tuned. I got more HDZero content, more HD content, and more general building and knowledge content coming your way. So thanks again for tuning in. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. Leave a thumbs up, and we'll catch you in the next one.